So as our convict comes to the farmer's house, he works for the day and he feels very good about his work. But the farmer then tells him, "You can sleep in the barn and I'll give you some cold food, but I want you to sign a contract for the whole season or I'm not going to pay you anything." And the nature of the contract here provides a really important aspect of the story. A contract is a legal form of a bill of sale. It's an exchange of your labor for money or something for money. It's an exchange of goods. And the resistance to contract among Black workers comes from the fact that if they sign a contract, then they become legally bound to work, even if they don't get paid. So very often, although this man is a thief, very often people were arrested and put on chain gangs for so-called vagrancy, meaning they had signed a work contract and then their employer said that they weren't working. So this enabled a form of slavery in the convict lease system. That's why this convict refuses to sign a contract, because by signing a contract, he's signing away his freedom, because the man doesn't really have to pay him. White people don't have to fulfill the contract. White people can use the legal system to say that the Black person has not fulfilled his labor aspect of the contract, and then have him arrested and put into a chain gang. The number of people placed in chain gangs is pretty astronomical, and I would have to look up those statistics for you. But this particular form of injustice in the chain gang is what Du Bois wants us to think about. The convict goes through a bit of a fall from grace then and decides to try to steal a watch, but the stranger shows up again. And the stranger starts talking to the farmer's wife, who starts to tell him to ask her about whether she does really love her neighbor, including some neighbors who are Black. She struggles with that. She claims that it's almost impossible to get Black people to work. And long story short, this stranger is unable to really get her to claim that she loves Black neighbors as she does herself. So she gets up and turns on a lamp and recognizes Jesus again as someone who isn't white. Meanwhile, the convict is trying to run back to the stranger to ask for healing and forgiveness again and doesn't see her, and they collide. This is when the story immediately turns into a lynching story, and the woman witnesses the lynching and doesn't do anything to stop it until finally she sees a great flaming cross with the stranger hanging on it as well. So she feels joy, interestingly, when she sees the cross. She doesn't stop the lynching, but she then feels horror when she sees the stranger burning on the cross, riven and blood-stained, with thorn-crowned head and pierced hands, and realizes that the stranger is Jesus. So she has a kind of conversion then, just as the entire story converts into a lynching story, and lynching itself becomes another name for crucifixion. The convict and Jesus Christ become kind of one and the same as they face each other and mirror each other. And Jesus ends with promising that the thief who's now been lynched will one day join him in paradise.